Hello and welcome to this Java tutorial. So in this video, we'll see how you can take input from user in Java, or you can also say it like that. If user types something through keyboard, then how can we take that input through console in Java? In Java, actually, there are three ways to take user input. You can use BufferedReader, which wraps input stream reader. That is one way. Then you can use Scanner class, which was introduced in Java 5. And there is also a third way where you can use system.console, which was introduced in Java 6. So mostly these days, Scanner is used to take user input. So we'll concentrate more on that. But we'll also see how we can use this buffered reader to take user input, because through that we can see what are the problems with this approach and how Scanner class solves those problems. Okay, so we'll start with buffered reader. So actually, when we have to use this input stream reader and buffered reader way, what happens is that there is a java.io package, input output io. In that there is a class input stream reader, which actually wraps this system.in. This in you see, right? This is the standard input stream, which by default is your keyboard. So it takes input through your keyboard, and this input stream reader is used to read the text from a character input stream. Okay, so the flow is like that, right? If you join all of that through keyboard, if user inputs something, that goes as an input stream to the input stream reader, which reads it as a character stream. All right, but on top of that, you also use buffered reader to wrap this input stream reader. So advantage of doing that is that input stream reader actually reads character by character. So that will be a little more expensive, right, in terms of input output, because you are reading each character and then taking it to the target, which in this case is your code, right? You are taking that to your code, character by character. Whereas with buffered reader, there is a buffer in between. So you store in the buffer. When that buffer is full, then only you transfer it to the target. So that buffer is by default 16 KB. So the characters are kept in the buffer itself rather than transferring data character by character. And the whole chunk is transferred when the buffer is full or when the code needs it. So that way it is more efficient. Okay, so that is the way we'll use first. So the method used is this one, read line, which is in buffered reader. But the issue here is that it always returns a string. So if you need data of any other type, suppose you are asking user to enter age or some amount which is number, right? Then you need explicit type conversion. So that is one issue with buffered reader. So let's see a program, then it will be clearer. Alright, so I already have a class which I've named user input BR. In that we'll use buffered reader to take user input. So first thing is you have to create an object of buffered reader. So buffered, and in Eclipse, if you do control space after just typing few words, then it will give you options. So from there, if you choose, it will also import it automatically from the package. java.io.bufferedReader. You don't have to type it yourself. Buffered reader, object of that class, new buffered reader. Within that, we'll wrap new input stream reader, object of that, and that is also imported from java.io, and this in turn will wrap system.in. So this is the whole way of getting our buffered reader. So actually this is a decorator design pattern, follows that design pattern which is known as decorator. In that, what you do is, rather than putting all the features in one class, you divide it into different classes. So if user needs only few features, it can use the appropriate class, or if more features are needed, then it can wrap the class within another class to get more features. So java.io package also follows that decorator design pattern, where many readers and writers are given with some feature in each class. So this way you can wrap to get the extra features. Input stream reader is giving you the ability to read character stream. On top of that, buffered reader is giving you a buffer to make it more efficient. Okay, so coming back to what we were doing. Okay, so what we can do is we can give some message to the user, enter your name. Okay, and that we can take in a variable which I've named name only, and I can read it using read line. Then let's say enter your age. Now here we'll have that problem. But before that, if you see here also we are getting an error which says that you are not handling the IO exception. So with IO package classes, actually it throws some exception which are checked exception, and you are forced to catch those. So we have not done exception handling yet if you are following the topics as I am giving. So the simple way right now is to just add here throws IO exception. That way you'll get rid of the error which was coming here. Now coming back to we are taking age, right? Enter your age. Now we'll have that problem. So if I want to take age, and if I use this read line directly, again I'll get error, right? That this is string, you can't convert from string to int. So we have to explicitly convert it into int. How we can do it? With every primitive type, actually there is a corresponding wrapper class. So for int there is a class integer that gives many utility methods. One of that method is parse int, which if you see parses the string argument as a signed decimal integer. So it gives you the corresponding integer for that particular string. We can use that parse int. Within that we can put this br.readline. That way it is converted to int. Then we can just see by displaying what we are getting. Entered name plus name, entered age, age. Okay, now if we run it, it will ask you for the input. Enter your name. Suppose I give test user, then it will ask for age 32, let's say, and you get put the input right in the corresponding variable. That is why I can display it. So that is how I can get input through buffered reader. So that is the one way. Now let's move on to the scanner way of taking the user input. Okay, so coming to another way, which is scanner class, which was added in Java 5. So what scanner does, it is actually breaks its input into tokens using a delimiter, which by default is space. So if you give words, right, you will have some space. So it will read each word as one token. And the best thing about scanner is it can handle multiple data types through built-in methods. So it has various built-in methods to handle different kind of data types like string, int, float, double, boolean. So that reduces your boilerplate code, right? What we have just seen in buffered reader, that we have to explicitly convert the type ourselves, because buffered reader reads as string. But here you have built-in methods to read different data types. So these are some of the methods which are given by scanner class. So you have next int, read the integer, next double and next float for decimal numbers. There is next for reading the string. So that will read only the next token, stopping at space. So if you have only one word, then you can use next. If you want to read entire line of input, suppose you want address, right? Enter address, and that may have spaces, then you can use next line. So this is the difference between next and next line. For boolean, you can use next boolean. So scanner is good for applications where you need mixed input, right? And that is mostly the case, that you need different types of inputs from user, maybe string, integer, or number with decimal. So that is why scanner is used more these days. So we can also see an example of scanner now. Okay, so again I have a class user input scanner. That's where I'll write the code for taking input through scanner. So for scanner also you have to take the instance of scanner class. So that is imported from java.util.scanner. Then some object new scanner. Here also you have to give the source, which is again system.in. Now using that we can start taking input. So let's take full name. We'll take full name. For that what we can use, full name equal to next line, right? Because full name will have a space in between, right? First name space last name. You can use next line. To check that, we can also take individual first and last name. Enter first name, that let's say take in f name equal to, for that we can use next, because that should be one word. Enter last name and full name, and within this also enter age. Now for age, what we can do, we can directly take it as int by using next int method. And just for testing purposes, we can take some amount, let's say enter amount, which may be floating. So we can do double amount equal to sc.next double. Okay, so we have used all these methods just to check. Then to print all of them, full name, then we have other things. So let's have first name, that is last name, name, then age, and one more, right, which is amount and amount. Now again it will ask you for input, test user, full name, first name say test, and last name let's say we put both with a space. So let's see what happens. If you see, as soon as I press enter, I get error, input mismatch exception. Why is that? Because when we take last name and what we have used there is next, right? So it will read only this much, till one space, right? One word. Then this word will be carried over to the next thing where we are trying to read age, and that needs a int, but what we'll get is this user there. That is why we are getting in input mismatch exception, because we are getting string where we need int. So that is why it is important that you use the appropriate method and you have a check with this input mismatch exception. Now let's try again. This time let's give the correct one. So test user, then test, then user, then age, then amount we can give with decimal, and this time we get the correct input values. Whatever we are entering, we are getting here. So that's how we can use scanner. As you can see, it is better than BufferedReader because of the built-in methods for different data types. One more thing is, if you have opened some resource, you should close it once you are done, so that you can reclaim that memory which was given to it. So sc.close. Actually, we should have done the same thing here also. Close to close this BufferedReader. So that is a good practice, that you close the resource which you have opened here. So there is actually one issue which happens when you use next line method of scanner class. So that is quite a frequently happening issue. So let's discuss it here. So what happens is if you use next line after any other next method, be it next or next int or next double or next float, next line skips its input. So if we take a scenario where next method is used, right, to get some string, then you use next line, then again next int, and again next line. So what happens in this case is that these next line, whatever input you are taking, right, that will be skipped. Why that happens is when you use any of the next method, right, next or next int, the content which scanner will read is till the input, right? But you will press enter after putting that. So that adds a new line also. But that won't be read by that scanner. And the next line which is used after that next will end up reading just that new line character rather than the input which it is supposed to take. So let's try to clarify with a program. We'll create a program. Let's name it scanner line issue. Okay, so here also you have to do the same thing. Scanner, this thing you have to create object of scanner sum.in. Now we have the scanner object. So we will take that scenario itself what we just discussed, right? So here we have already written, so let me leverage that only. I type again. Let's say I ask enter a word that I take in next and that I name as word, let's say. Then we have full name. After that we can take this only age, and then again I take one next line. So here let me change to address. Address next line here only, right? First is full name, so let it be. I can change in this word and word, then full name, then these two we don't need, age, and then address. Address. Okay. So now you can see the issue. So enter a word. You will enter a word. Now if I press enter, you see, right, it has skipped this. It has come directly to age. And if I put some age, it has gone to the output without taking address. So where we have next line, both those inputs are skipped. So that is the issue. And solution for that is you can put a spare next line. So here it will read the word what you are giving, right? And it will leave that new line character when you press enter. So that will be read by this next line. So when you come here, you can read what you are giving as input. Same thing we can do here also. So that's how you can avoid this error. Now if we take enter a word, test, full name, let's say test user, age, address, let's say one VIP lane. Now if you see, we are getting all of these inputs. Here also we are filling and here we are getting. So that is one error which comes quite frequently when you try to take some mixed sort of input from the user. So that is the solution for it. Here also we can put that c.close to close this. So that is all about taking user input in Java through BufferedReader and through Scanner class. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.